So in this video, we will see how to create a backend for a to-do application in Java Spring Boot. To-do application front end will look like this, where you can enter a title and description, and you click save. The list of to-dos will get displayed here. So this is the title and this is the description, and the title and description have to be stored in the backend in a database. So we will see how to create a backend using Spring Boot application. So open VS Code, and in the VS Code click this folder thing, and here you will see create a Java project. Click that, and then here use choose Spring Boot and Maven project. Maven is nothing but a project management tool. Choose a version Java. Okay, so you have to choose a group ID. Okay, so for example, what is our group? Our group is fresh type, and this is to do. You can give your project name. So this you can give it as to do to the jar Java version 17, and then you can last choose. You can use a Spring Web here. Okay, now it is asking for a folder to store. Okay, let's choose a folder. And the mini projects. So we'll choose another folder because some to do already exists there. So I choose the Java folder. I'm choosing generate here. So successfully generated. Click open, and our Spring Boot application is generated here. Okay, so here if we go right, the source main folder. So you can see here our group ID, our artifact ID is displayed here, and a Java file is generated. Okay, so this is basically our application. Okay, this is where this main function is where our execution will start. Okay, so when you do a Spring Boot run, a lot of things happens. We will see in the log. So for now, this application to do application.java, it is part here. Now what you have to do is, in the backend, what all you have to do, you have to start a HTTP server, and you need to write all the routes. Okay, so Spring Boot here we will follow the model view controller architecture. So we will have a controller to interact with the data, controller which will process the HTTP request, and we will have model which will interact with the database, and view module is to change our data into appropriate format, so to send it back to the client. So model view controller architecture is something like this, right? So in the backend, right, you have to do a lot of things. So in the backend, right, you have to do a lot of work, right? You have to handle the HTTP request, and you have to interact with the database. Okay, there's a lot of things here, right? So we have divided the work. The controller module, right, it handles the HTTP request. Okay, and it interacts with the model module to talk to the database, get the data. Okay, and then it gets the data, talk to the view module, and then changes the data to a JSON format or HTML format, and then it responds back to the browser. So basically in the backend, right, you divide the code into different modules. Okay, controller module will handle the HTTP request and all those things, and model module will interact with the database. So you divide it into separate modules so that it is cleaner, right? Your backend code is cleaner, right? There are other advantages of having this MVC architecture. So here in our thing, first what you'll do is, here in this we will create a package for each model, controller, and everything. Okay, so how to create a package? Go here and then create a folder and call it controller. Okay, in this I'm going to create a file. The file is controller, right? It will be todo controller dot java. Okay. See, the package is already included, right? Package is what? Package is nothing but a folder which has a collection of related classes. Okay, so to controller is a folder. Folder was created, right? Okay, it will have the related classes. Okay, so this is a class. Okay, now here what you will do, what the controller does, the controller does, the controller handles the HTTP request. Okay, okay, so for that you have to put annotation of REST controller. Now, what is this annotation? Annotation is nothing but a data which tells the compiler, it gives some information about the to the compiler. So it here each annotation, right? It has a meaning for it. Okay, REST controller has a meaning. So what the REST controller does? The REST controller combines two annotation. One is controller annotation and the response body annotation. It tells the compiler that this part of the code, right? It will handle the HTTP request and it will define the method to process the request. So all the HTTP requests will be there in this class. So you are telling the compiler, okay? And it also combines response body. This annotation, what it denotes, it indicates that whatever you return from there, right? Whatever data you return from this function, that will be there in the HTTP response body. These two annotation, so this all you are telling your framework, right? So when you do something, the framework will take care of that. Okay, so this is a framework, right? Spring Boot is a framework. The Spring Boot, when you start this application, your Spring Boot framework is going to start a HTTP server. Okay, basically this will be used by a framework to call the appropriate function for the appropriate routes. When you return some data from here, right, will go to the framework and you have tell a request body, right? So whatever you're returning here, the framework will put that information in the HTTP response and send it back. Okay, so that is the use of annotation. Our life is very simple, right? If you put the annotation, you're telling what has to be done. What that part of the code will be doing. So it is a metadata and it gives some additional information about the code below. Okay, so now I have to declare all my routes here. Okay, so this is a controller package we have done. Okay, so next what you need to have, we need to have a model package. So let's create a folder for model and let's create a file todo model.java. Okay, this is a class model. So what this will have basically it will have all the details in the collection. Okay, so what are the details it should have? It will have a title. These are the fields in the title. It will have description. So model will have this, okay, and you have to tell what part, what it is part of what collection. For that, we can use the annotation document. Okay, our Spring Boot project will have this file called pom.xml. In the pom.xml, we will give all the dependencies we need for our project. Like if you need some other module, right? We will give all those dependencies in this. So this is the way you give the dependencies. Right here, I want to connect to MongoDB, right? So I need a Spring Boot starter data MongoDB. This module I need. Okay, and this will be part of this group ID. Okay, and I also need Lombok. We'll see what is the use of this. So I have added this Spring Boot data MongoDB, and then I have added one more thing. We'll see what's the use of it. Now in the model, I have to specify the document which which is used for. Okay, so in the document I have to specify the collection name. So collection equal to, our collection name is todo, todos. Okay, so this is what you need to do it in the so this what it specifies, this specifies that this model is going to operate on this collection, todos collection. Okay, now for a class, right, you can have getters and setters. Okay, how you can generate getters and setters? Go here, source action, generate, this is getter, right? You click OK, you get the function for the getters. Is a function will get the title, is a function will get the description. Okay, I can also generate setters. Okay, right click and generate setters, and then you can basically generate all these things. For now I'll just copy the code like this, you can generate, but for now I will copy the code, getters, setters, and converting to a string. Okay, I have added some prints here. You can see like when that particular prints is coming. Okay, so for now what I have done, we have basically just started the controller. We have almost completed with the model, right? And then we have put the getters and setters. Okay, we will see what is the use of this model and all these things. Okay, so in the controller, what I need to do, first thing I need to do, I need to basically write the routes here. Get route. Okay, the CRUD operation I have to do here. Before for that, right, I need to basically interact with the Mongo database. Correct? In the get, right, I have to get all the records from the Mongo database. For that, right, I basically need to connect to the repository, right? Mongo database repository, right? So for that, again, I will create one more package here, right? Okay. Here I will create one more package called repository, and then I will create a new file here called todo repo.java. Okay. Here, oh my god. So here I want to create an interface. Oh my god. So this is an interface, and it has to, it basically need to extend your Mongo repository. Okay, and what is the data it will go? It will go this todo. What is the class name you have here? This todo model, right? So basically, todo model is what will go here, and then a string. Okay, and that is what you need here. This is basically in the todo repository. Okay, and this is enough for now for this. Okay, and in our controller, what we need to do? We need to have this repo. Using this repository only, we can interact with the database. Okay. For that, what I'm doing is I'm creating a variable for this. What is this? The todo repo. Todo repo. I'll call the variable as t repo. Okay. And I will put an annotation auto wired. Okay. We will understand what is the meaning of auto wire later. For now, let's put that. Now I need to have getters and setters, right? I need to have get route. Okay, I need to declare get route, post route, and all these things, right? So for the get route, what do? You need to go to the get annotation mapping, like add get. This is a get mapping. See, it gives everything. Okay, so what is our route? It will be to dos. Get to dos. Okay, and then what will be the method name? So I will change the method name to get. Okay, get to do. So but what is the get? It should return a list, correct? List of to dos, correct? So the thing will be list of our to do model, correct? What is the method name? Get to do. We will have the get to do. Okay, and we do, there is no parameters, right? Nothing is coming in params. We can take this off. And then now how you will get the data from the database? Okay, now let me put a print statement. Okay, now how you will get it from the database? So you have to use your repo. So t repo dot find all. You will get all the record and you will return it as a list. Your get mapping is over. Now we'll go to the post. So your read is done. Now we'll go to the post. Again post, go for post mapping. The same thing, right? What is the post mapping? Again it will be your endpoint is to dos. Post, do you return any data? Probably you can return your to do model itself, right? Whatever data you are posting, right? That you can return. Okay, so this will be a post to do. Okay, what is the data coming in? That will be of this class. Okay, okay, we have this entity. What you have to do in the post method? We will have a print post to do, and then we will print this entity, and then you basically have to use your t repo and save it of your entity. That's it, your post is done. Okay, next is will be your put mapping, correct? So put mapping, what you have to do is you go for put the same one. See, every basic structure of the code is given by the VS Code itself. So for you, it is easy to type in also. So it will be slash to dos slash. You have to get the ID, right? Which ID you have to update? Put is for updating, right? And return, you can return your to do model, right? And basically you can have put. You can basically have this update to do. Okay, and the request body you get the data to change, right? So this will be your to do model. Okay, now first you have to get the data for that id. Okay, and for you have to get the data, so you have to get that entry, right? It will be a to do model entry, right? So you can call it whole entity, which will be equal to, you have to get the data. How to get the data? You have to use the repo. Interacting with all the Mongo database will be repo. Okay, you have to find by id. What is id here? Id is id here. You find the id and then use the get. Find by id and use get, right? Yes, you have to use get. Find by id dot get. Okay, so here find by id dot get shows an error. So the problem is like the to do model here, the import didn't happen for the to do repo. Since the import, I didn't import that, I was facing issues in my controller. Okay, in my controller, this all find by ID get and all, I was giving error. Okay, so I got the old entry, right? Now I have to update this with the new entry. So old entity dot title. Basically, you have to set the title, correct? You have the setter. So set title to the setter. What do you pass? You pass the new. This is what is the new entity, right? Dot get title. You get this is what you have to set, correct? This is what is coming in the body. This is what you have to update. That I'm getting and I'm setting. I'm passing as a parameter and setting the title for this entity. Okay, and then old entity dot set description. Here I have to get the entity dot get description here. Okay, so I have got the old entity. Now what I have to do now? I have to save that. How to save that is so simple. You can save and return that. To interact with the database, you have to use your repository dot save, pass your old entity. That's it. Your put mapping is done, and let's have a print here. So code to do. I'll just print the entity itself. So when you're printing an object, right, in Java, how the object has to be printed. Okay, for that only, for that you need this toString. So how this is returning, right? This is how your object will be printed. So when you print an object, the toString method will be called, and whatever the toString method returns, that will be printed. Okay, because printing an object, Java doesn't know, right, how it has to print. Printing integer, Java knows. Okay, so similarly go to the controller. Okay, you have done. Okay, now what is pending? Only your delete mapping, correct? Delete mapping. Delete mapping. There is no already rule. Delete mapping is same as put mapping only, right? So I will copy this. I will use it here. Instead of put, we have to use delete. Okay, and there is nothing will be coming in the request body. Okay, here you have to put delete to do. Here also update to do. Okay, now how you will delete it? You have to basically get the entity and you have to call delete, right? That is what has to be done. It's so simple. How you get the entity and delete it? Otherwise, you have the ID here, right? Using the ID itself, you can delete it. Thus, you have to call delete and you have to pass the ID. So trepo dot delete any function is there. Delete by ID is there. Pass the ID. That's it. And probably can return the ID here. So at delete mapping cannot be resolved by Java. Okay, delete mapping, why it does not be resolved? I just copied it here. Since I copied it, this didn't come automatically. So here I have to import it. If I copied it manually, I have to import it manually. Delete mapping, that's it. So now it have been gone. Okay, now this ID is showing an error because your return type is todo model and you are trying to return a string. So change this to string. It's done. Okay. So request param we are not using, so you can delete this. Okay. So your control is over. That's why you have written all the. You have done all the routes. Okay. This is model is done. Okay, and then your to-do application, your repo is done. All thing is clear. Okay, now we have to start the application, right? Before we start the application, which Mongo database it will connect to? So we have to provide the Mongo database at least URL, correct? Okay. So for that, if you go to the resources, there I am going to create one file called applications.yml. In this, I am going to give my URL. Okay. So what is the URL? You have to give spring.data.mongodb.uri. Okay. What URI? This application is right. Expect a mapping node, but God. So you have to give the URI in the application YML file like this. Spring data MongoDB URI. Your URL should be present here. Okay, and then the database. What is the database you are using in your MongoDB, right? The database here. This is the database, and todo is your collection in the database. Okay, so this is done. Now we can start our application. Okay, how to start our application? Go to our todo application. Okay, and here there is a button run. Okay, click that. Okay, if you see right there, here if you see a Tomcat server is initialized with port number and it is started on 8080. But I want my application to be started on 3000 because my front end is sending the HTTP request in localhost 3000. So how to change that port number is I go to application properties. Here I do server dot port equal to 3000 and I save this and I save this and I cancel this and then I run it again. Okay, now it is started in 3000. Okay, now all our get routes, all the things should be called. Okay, so now let's see how things are working. I have a to-do application front end. Okay, so I started my to-do application. Okay, there is a get request coming. Okay, if I have a controller, right, there's a get request coming. This get to do is getting printed. So I am collecting all the information from the database and I'm sending it back. Correct? For that, what is getting called in my model? The constructor is getting called. So for every entry, an object is created. For every that I have this many to dos in my database. For every to do, an object is created. And for every to do, the get title and get description is called. So this is all automatically called by the Spring framework, right? You are given this is a document collection, right? And this getter and setter is automatically called. Okay, we are not calling anything, right? What we are doing, we are just returning find all. For MongoDB, find all is called. So when you call find all, right, for MongoDB, you are getting all the records from the MongoDB. Before sending, right, you have to convert your record into a JSON format, and then only you can send it back. Correct. So for that, this getters and for that constructor is getting created, and you have getters and setters are getting called. The to-do string also will be getting called. Okay. Okay. So this is what is happening here. Okay. Now I am supposed to get the data here. I'm not getting it here. So let's go check that. And there is another way these getters and setters, right? Without these getters and setters itself, we can use the existing getters and setters. Okay, and that is what is there in the. So I am going to use the annotation data. So when I use the annotation data, right? So here the Lombok module is getting used. So it will use the getters and setters in this module. So we need not have the getters and setters. And similarly, you can also have the constructors for it. Okay. So this is part of the model, right? You can also use the constructors. For that, you can use. You don't have. You need to have all args constructor, and you can have no args constructor also. This all will be automatically used. Okay. So when I save this and when I restart this, now I am not using my getters and setters. I am using the getters and setters in this Lombok module using this annotation. Okay. Now when I go refresh here, so now I got get to do, but I'm not getting these prints. The reason it was not working is I didn't use the cause origin annotation. So the cause origin annotation, right? It is used to allow our Springboot application. We can specify which domains can access our application, like cause origin, and which domain can access our application. We can specify. At cause origin, it will allow from others. So it is allowing, and I'm able to see this. Okay. Now, now this is our delete, right? So let's. Oh my God, I didn't put a print here. I also didn't put a print here. I thought I would have print. It's a print entry here. I didn't put a print entry here. Okay, so let's put a print entry here. Delete colon plus ID. Okay, just print the ID. So let's try to edit it and see whether you are able to see this. Okay, and let's also try to add a to do first of all. Hi, this is a new to do. Okay, any print is coming. Any print you have put for add. Okay, put a print for add. Save. Oh, there's a new to do. Got added. Post. Print is coming. The normal. This is where the two things gets used. After posting, you will basically get all the data to display here. So post is working. Okay. Now if I do a edit, okay, you are good. I try to update it. Nothing is getting updated. Okay, what is happening here? I got some exception. Servlet service in the context of something. Okay, some problem is happening. Okay, okay, oh, okay. Let me try to delete it and see what is the problem. Okay, because delete will be easy to resolve. I will stop and start again. Okay, something is problematic. Okay, so refresh the page. Okay, when I refresh it, I got it. So let me go inspect. Okay, let me view the network, the data going from the server. Okay, so when I do a delete, so delete the data ID is not going from front end itself. ID is not going. It is going as undefined here. Okay, so that's why delete is coming as undefined here. So why the ID is not going? Because when we send all the data, right? Are we sending the ID? Okay, you can basically do a local host colon 3000 slash todos and see whether you are sending the IDs. You are not sending the IDs, you are sending only the title and the description alone you are sending. So the front end doesn't know the ID, then how it can delete it? So for this, you have to send the ID, right? So how to send the ID? Basically in the model, we have to send the ID which is used in the Mongo database, right? So I will declare a variable here. ID is also string, right? And MongoDB, it will be underscore ID, correct? Underscore ID will be stored, okay? Let me save it. So this is saved, correct? Let me stop and start it again. Okay, now it is started. Correct, Tomcat server is started. Okay, now let me refresh and see whether I'm getting the ID here. Now I got the ID. Underscore ID is there. Okay, now if I go and refresh this page and if I do a delete, it is deleted. Now ID is going. Okay, similarly, let's try to edit it. Hi at 6. Instead of hi at 6, I put hi at 7. Update. Now it is changed. We are able to update also. So we are able to get the data, edit it, delete it. We are also able to add a new data in the to-do application. Okay. So it's so simple. We created a controller, right, which handles the HTTP request. We created a model which specifies it basically shows the what are the um, different data in the collection, correct, right? This basically denotes the different data in the collection, and then we use the repo to interact with the data at Mongo database. You have to declare an interface for a repo to interact with the Mongo database, and in the controller we use the repo to interact in our routes. That's what is so simple.